Hello, it's time for a little online talk again, and this time it's female conductors, our wonderful topic. So I have three female conductors with me. Mary Ellen Kitchens from the US, but living in Germany for a long while now. Andrea Botelho from Brazil, and Talia Ilan from Israel. So I started a little bit early now because Andrea has to leave us. She only has 30 minutes. And I want to make sure that she can also talk with us, of course. So Talia is already here. Welcome, Talia from Israel. Yes, there she is.
Hi, Eva.
Hello, Talia.
Hi, Eva.
Wonderful.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. What about
Great.
you?
Great to see you. I'm happy to see you. So now I'm happy.
Yeah, same here. I'm very, very happy that this is possible today.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, it's great. So another conductor has joined us, but not for our online talk, but wonderful that you're watching. Audrey, the conductor, hello. We're still waiting for Mary Ellen Kitchens from the US and Andrea Botelho from Brazil. So very international today. And Andrea has to leave a little bit early at 8 o'clock. So we will just jump right into the discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
Mechthild. Hallo, schön, dass du zuguckst. Wir machen einen kleinen Online-Talk. Aber auf Englisch wird es sein. Andrea, I can send you, ich kann dir eine Einladung schicken. Warte. Da. Okay, ich habe dich eingeladen, Andrea. Du musst akzeptieren. Hallo, hallo Orchester Klagenfurt, Erfurt, wenn ich das richtig sehe, ne? KLG. So our discussion today will be in English because Talia, I think you don't speak German.
That's right. Even though my grandparents, this was their mother tongue, but not mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's wonderful. Yeah, Andrea is with us.
Hi, Eva.
Hello.
Oh,
This
nice
is fantastic.
To Leipzig.
Hi, shalom.
Now I'm in Rio de Janeiro today.
Oh, wow. Did you have a good flight?
Yes, it was okay.
Yes? Okay. Have a little bit trouble, you told me.
Yeah, but nothing that we cannot resolve. It's everything good.
Okay, fantastic. So, we're still waiting for Mary Ellen. Is she already here somewhere? Mary Ellen. She's definitely online.
Talia, last time we talked to each other was in England, right?
Oh, really? Oh, that's
It was
right.
with Gabriela Gulacho.
That's right. Yes, you're right. It was about a year ago or something, right?
Yes.
Or
You met personally?
no.
Online.
Unfortunately, not yet.
Aha, okay. But one fine
We
day.
need to manage that. So
Yes.
I heard about from Conductors Guild is going to have some conducting conference from them in next year in Spain.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of.
Oh.
Maybe it's something that we can manage to be together
I hope
representing
so.
women in music.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
fantastic. Wow,
Maybe
that's
we can
great.
talk. We can think about it. It's going to be in
Yeah.
January. They just
Okay.
contacted me for 2 days ago. I'm going to be writing then, and maybe could be something for us to think about seriously about talking on the theme, the topics that we are working together.
Wow. Wonderful.
So,
Maybe I can offer them something also. Hello, Mary.
I made it.
Oh,
It was difficult, but I made it.
Fantastic. So Andrea has to leave at 8. So let's go ahead. So my first question for you is, how did you become a conductor? We start with Andrea.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Mary Ellie. Nice to see you here.
Oh
I
yeah.
already said hi for the end. Yes, the topic's very interesting. For me, it started when I was 14 years old. Actually, I was already studying piano. And suddenly, a friend of mine at the music school showed me a recording about Gustav Mahler. And I was so fascinated about this music, his music, and I was trying to see if I could play something or see how can I could manage to the colors of the instrument to put them together. And since then, I decided myself to be a conductor. But funny fact is, when I talked to my teacher about it, and they said, "I didn't know you were such a religious girl." I said, "Why are you asking me that?" Because he was supposing I would be a choir conductor. And I told him, no, I
Oh,
want to conduct Gustav Mahler for Stephen. And then he was like, what? And then he recommended me a lot of things because he was pointing that you need to know how hard it is before you make such a decision. It's with 14 years old. And then I said, no, I made already my mind and I started doing everything he told me to. And I never came back about this idea to putting people together to work together and make some good music. It's what
oh,
my beginning. Yeah.
wow, so early, and this is so beautiful, such a beautiful story, I think.
Mhm.
Already
Yeah.
determined.
But
That's very
one
good.
thing he was right. It's not easy, but I don't know if anyone goes to study conducting, think that might be easy. Definitely is in the right is a really wrong way. So you don't need to go if you are looking for easy ways to pursue a
Oh,
career.
yeah.
I don't know. What
I think we
about
all
you?
agree. Okay, let's continue with Mary Ellen.
Oh, thank you, Eva. Yeah, talking about it being easy or not, I'll never forget, and I think there's even a recording of this somewhere, Nadia Boulanger giving advice to young people wanting to go into music, and she said, don't go into music unless you're ready to die for it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
That's
I mean, that's
really
a really extreme statement, but on some level, I think, the engagement that you need to really conduct well is, it's not life and death, but it's really about engagement in a major way, about living a love for music and a love for people and their communication inside of music. So I'm with Andrea on that, really thinking the fascinating thing about an orchestra is how it works as a community in communication, musical communication, but also on some level, of course, personal communication. And I think
yes.
the level of personal communication has taken on a new flavor now almost. I think, we're moving away from hierarchical situations and discussion has become more important, which is great. I think it's the good influence of women conductors. um, okay, personal opinion. But if I think back to my beginnings, of course, it was playing the cello in an orchestra myself or singing in the school choir, and then maybe suddenly having the opportunity to lead that group a little bit and realizing how amazing it is to take the composition which is written down and to make something of that with other people, um, and yeah, to sort of understand what happens between all of those notes that are written on the page. I think that became a fascination for me. There was a watermark point in my life, and that was when I was 16. I went to see a performance at the Mostly Mozart Festival in New York City, and Antonio Brico conducted
Oh,
that
yeah.
performance. And
Yeah.
the first film, there's now a new film about her, but the first film
Mhm.
about her life, done by Judy Collins, who was a student of hers, was
Oh.
shown that evening. And
Mm.
it was completely unforgettable and played a major role in my thinking, oh, I can do that maybe too.
Hmm.
That's so good.
Oh, nice. It was 89, right?
No, it was earlier. No. That's very
No.
nice that you say that, but it was earlier.
Okay. No, I
in the
just try to
70s.
remember.
It was in the 70s.
70s.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Again, what a story. It was good, a good idea of mine to ask you that question. Wow.
For sure.
So, and now, of course, we all want to know, what about Talia?
Oh, well, I just feel that I already answered you a month ago about the same question, so I'll make it short. So, like Andrea, and also, of course, many similarities with Mary Ellen, I started to understand I want to be a conductor when I was 14. But then I just realized that the music I love the most is the orchestral music when I was 14, because I heard orchestral music since day one, since I was born. But I only realized it when I was 14 in the music high school, and we started as a pianist, and then we started studying about the orchestral repertoire, and then I realized this is what I really like. And I wanted to create this sound and to be the one who is actually creating it. And that's how I decided I wanted to become a conductor. And since I was a pianist, it was not enough for me to have an experience in an orchestra. So I took the clarinet as my second instrument. Until today, I really play the clarinet. And that's how I entered an orchestra, and I learned how it works from within the orchestra. That's
Wow.
my story.
Yeah. Oh, great. So let's continue with the next question. So, what is uniting us is that you're all very engaged in the field of female composers. So, next question: what was your approach to that topic? We start again with Andrea.
That's a very important question for me. So, I was working in study conducting, but unbelievable to say that now. But I was not so aware about women, what women in music was about, and especially when we studied, and still today, true, many of us don't have any contact with female composers. So I was pursuing my degree in St. Petersburg, and it was like I was doing internship at Mariinsky Theater, and suddenly I was invited to conduct in Brazil Late Macbeth von Mitinsky von Shostakovich. At that time, I was so excited because I was there, and I was coincidentally, my conducting classes was in the conservatory in the room from Shostakovich itself. So I was fascinated with everything I was living. So, and then I opened up the opera, started to study it, and I was shocked about about the drama and how it was degrading so women. It was in the second, I think the end of the first act, it was a rape, collective rape on a woman. And I was at that moment, so I cannot conduct it. It'll be for me very over. In that time, I was aware in that moment, where the women? I was sure no woman would compose a drama like that. Not in a way, it would be another drama. So then I started doing a research, and I realized myself I never conducted an opera composed by a woman. And I felt a little bit ashamed, and I said, no, I'm going to change this right now. And so it's over 15 years. Then I start researching, and I have a database in my homepage where I show everything I researched. I put for everyone who wants to see and to. Meanwhile, a lot of people come to me and ask about my research, and I'm happy to help anyone to find where the female composers. So, and that was a life change in these 15 years, just realizing how fascinating is this word. Being, I am a composer as well. So, and then it reinforced my competence that I'm producing. And I'm really happy about this. And there's no way back. No way back. And having you guys, it's like Mary Ellen, so supportive. You, our networking, it makes our life more fun, and it makes us, it motivate us not to going back and trying to show people how important it is to face equality in music, not only giving working opportunities, but looking the whole situation and start to provide more and more uh, opportunities for women. For instance, my students, I put in a task that they need to learn music from female composers and from male composers. So in a way, I can already see after many years of doing this that they don't. For them, it's really not a new thing anymore. They think they see how important it is to play and to enjoy the music made from female composers. So
Great. Yeah, I think we all try to put repertoire by female composers in all the fields that we're working in. Maybe we continue with Talia this time. What about you? What was your approach?
Well, actually, my first ever public concert was with a female composer. It was
Oh,
by
wow.
chance. Yeah, but it was actually contemporary music. It was written by a friend of mine. And I was very fascinated by her music, which was very actually modern and extreme for that time. I think it was almost 30 years ago. And so this was my first ever concert. So let's start with this. And later, when I got my orchestras, I also initiated concerts, especially for featuring women's music. It was also 20 something, over 20 years ago. So actually I started right from the beginning, and it was unique at that time. And I'm not sure it made a lot of difference because nobody else continued this. But today I get much more support from you and from my friends and the community around the world. And this makes a lot of difference. But back then there was no internet, so I couldn't get any support from anybody else around the world or from my country. But what I do, the only support I did get is from the composers themselves, the women composers that I featured their music, which are also from my age. Sometimes they are older than me, sometimes they are younger than me, and they're the ones who always remind me, Talia, remember you did this concert for me and it was so great. And this is where I got the support at that time.
I think social media is really great in the internet because it helps us a lot with our work.
Exactly.
Let's continue with Mary Ellen.
Yeah, I think at the moment, these past few years, we're really seeing the effects of that. And it must be, Talia, it must be a great joy to you if you started with these things back 30 years ago, really to see that things are moving on a little bit faster now.
Yeah.
I can imagine that makes you feel it was all worth it, probably, because I know exactly what you're talking about when you talk about how much effort it took in earlier days. Now people seem to be somewhat more open to these questions, which is really a wonderful development. I myself had a very conventional study of musicology in the United States, then in Paris, and then here in Munich, where I live now. And I think during all of those studies, really the question of women composers or even conductors was not a topic. I became involved with these topics actually in the late 80s, early 90s. I was still a young person who had moved to Munich, and there was an organization founded here in Munich in 1988, sort of as part of the second wave of the feminist movement, called Musica Femina München. And I became a board member there and was working very much on this topic in the 90s, and conducted several works by women at that point, but I was just still discovering and beginning research for myself. Then again, I would say I didn't feel too connected. I knew of organizations in the States and that were working on these topics a bit, but not so much maybe with orchestral music, maybe more chamber music and that sort of thing. In the decade thereafter, I was busy with other work and my job at the radio station. I have a day job working in an archive. I lead a department in the archive at the Bavarian Broadcasting and in the archives there. And so I was very involved with that and sort of building my career there. And for the past 10 years, I have really gotten into this topic very deeply with women composers because I've been on the board for this time, for the past 9 or 10 years, of the Archive of Women in Music in Frankfurt, which is a very large collection of scores by women composers, quite a number for choral settings and orchestral settings. And so that's really been my focus these past few years. I lead several amateur groups, both choirs and orchestras, and I have women composers on every program.
Great.
Wonderful. Great.
So great. Yeah. Andrea, we still have 10 minutes left. And then you have to go, right?
I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's no problem. I would suggest that I have some questions now, and I put them all together, and you just talk. Okay? And then when you have to go, we can continue, and we can discuss about what you talked about, and then you can rewatch it and send us a reply if you want to. Okay? You're fine with that?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You
but I need
you don't have to be
run
sorry.
to the airport to grab my suitcase.
No, it's cool, Andrea. So, several questions. The first one, you can pick whatever you want and whatever you want to talk about. So, question one, what do you think of competitions exclusively for women like La Maestra, or programs like the Heart Institute from the Dallas Opera? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? And the other topic, there's still a lot of all-male composers concert programs. What can we all do to motivate more musicians to play works by female composers? What is the importance that institutions have, venues, audience, publishers, musicologists, professional and amateur musicians? Are there any fields that seem open or fields that seem not so flexible in that topic? If yes, what could be the reasons? Maybe I think that's enough. Yeah, just choose whatever you want.
Okay, I'm gonna do overall. So what I think about the first questions about competitions and everything that related more to women, to programs that that support exclusively women. I know a lot of people just say like now it's kind of putting everything in a bubble. No, I don't think that. I think it's necessary because that's the in this way we are gonna open up more for people to know, regardless all competitions that women take part, but this one is to show how it's important for us to see that we exist. Still, if you see the project from Gabriela Gilardi, Doni Music, where I work as ambassador, collaborate with her, she points out a lot of statistics that regardless what our efforts, we are still the gap between men and women in the market, women in music, general talking, is still huge. And in this way, everyone who takes time to collaborate and to work is doing a lot, but it's still a lot to do. That's why I was very pleased to see the first Maestra because it was parallel to our event that we did in Latin America for 3 years ago. That was amazing because we could, as the Women Conductors Symposium that we did there, we could work together and have all people just talking with us. It was great to see how much we already acquired, but how much we still need to talk. It was topics that we approached there that we see, wow, it's still a lot to do. It's a lot to do. So, and the next question, you said it was about
All male programs.
All male program.
Yeah, and what can we do to change that, and what importance do institutions, etc., have?
Yeah, I think that we keep talking
Where can we change it?
Yeah, one thing that we keep talking about, like when we discuss about male programs, I'm still going to conduct Beethoven and other composers. But when we see that the production don't choose, don't take time to choose any female composer like Emily Maya, and that's why we ask why they're not innovating. And another big point that we need to talk here, that's one of the things that I'm working more and more about, is about education. Music teachers don't put on a test just to teach music from female composers, and don't talk about it. So I still see a lot of when I do speeches in my country here in Brazil or in Germany, a lot of people still don't know where they are. So and I think that's a gap of the education. We need to talk more. I think the politics that we need to approach right now is to talk about music schools. Music schools, we need to talk with them and say, like, we need to put a code or to talk about the politics that we can include for teaching compositions from female in the music and talk about them. So, and I must say, your project by Neustadt Kultur, Eva, I was watching it, very happy about your, it's like, and that's the third thing. I'm studying, I studied my whole life only repertoire for male composers. And now, again, just starting over and building a new repertoire. But that's one thing we need to do. We need to look over and say, now I need to play. I need to show. No? And what you did was great. So I was getting a lot of ideas. And I know for sure that was not easy for you to sit on a piano and study every time new etudes. But it was so, that's this kind of actions that in one, that's what we can do. Since one violence, just play something and post on YouTube or do anything that's going to help us a lot. But institutions, especially music universities, music schools, we need to talk about it, because if they don't play, if they don't know where the composers are, who did that. For instance, my object of my doctoral program is about a female conductor, Brazilian female conductor, who conducted the Berliner Philharmonica in 1930s. Just, I'm going to make short, because this woman was the principal of the music school where I studied. And my piano teacher that I already told you about, where when I told him I want to be a conductor, and he told me a lot of things, but he never mentioned about her. And she was principal when he came to the school. So what could be my life if I knew that in the school where I started my music education, that the principal, I had one woman in my life so representative as a conductor. So, and these kind of things that my new point of awareness is talk to the music schools, music education, and point it more and try to make some politics for them, just to see the significance to teach about women and to teach women compositions by women.
Mm-hmm. To play music ourselves and to show it on YouTube or the internet, and communication, right? That's your point.
Yes.
You think this will be the way?
And
okay.
To talk, and politics in music schools. We need to go there. We need to go there. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying just to point it up and try to involve colleagues and principals, just to understand if they don't teach. We don't have it's very hard. So I'm starting for you and me. We need to like in the adult age, just come back. I played all Chopin etudes and just start again. So if I had the chance to have the contact with female composers, this field, there will be no gap for me, for you, and I would say for the music community as well. So.
Yeah, and it's so easy. You don't have to play only Chopin. There are Szymanowska etudes, which are really, really difficult. And all the concert etudes, you can find them IMSLP. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
what.
great.
And yeah, I think you had one more question. So,
So we have 1 minute. So
yes.
the finale for Andrea. Have you ever heard an opera by a female composer played live? And maybe what are your 3 works that you would recommend for amateur orchestras and for professional orchestras?
Oh my God! Now I just have 1 minute to say that.
Yeah, be quick.
It's up to you.
I recommend everyone to go to the Frauenmusik Archiv, where Mary Ellen is
Yes.
that's for me was the best experience ever in my life to visit there. I cannot wait to go there anymore. Like any times, invite me, Mary Ellen, again. I will go. So it's
You're always
amazing,
welcome.
amazing the work they do there. So you can research online and see and really have the chance to know a lot about that. So I recommend Mel Boni, Emily Meyer, it's so much, Francisca Gonzaga, and opera by, it's unfortunate, I just have a chance one time to watch a female composer, and that's a huge gap. I already I tried in Brazil and in Germany to put more up at opera compositions, but they all said, "Oh, it's too expensive to start over a new production." I cannot listen to these excuses anymore, actually. But
So you didn't
we're still
attend an opera by a female composer?
one time, one
One time.
time.
Ah, okay. Where and what?
But there was in Brazil one time by a contemporary composer. So
Yeah,
here.
but that's good.
But that's good. But if you see that my specialization is in opera, that's not so. That's really not so much, right?
I wasn't that lucky, so no work by a female composer in any opera for me until now. I hope
Yeah.
this will change.
Sometimes I see the program in Berlin, but unfortunately we don't have it. So I apologize myself by you all because I really need to go and I feel very ashamed about it, but I hope I could collaborate
No.
anyone. And I promise you I'm gonna watch the video and I hope to see you soon again personally.
It was wonderful
Personally
to
and
have you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Andrea.
Andrea, for
Ciao.
being with us. And you can write anything you want in the comments, yeah, after that.
okay, on my way I'm gonna be trying to keep watching.
Okay.
Okay,
So
see
good
you.
luck.
Thanks.
See you
See
soon.
you. Bye, Andrea.
Bye.
Have a good time
Bye.
in Brazil.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. So, okay. I'm sorry. I hope it was okay for you, but I wanted
Yeah, of
to give
course.
her a
No, it was
chance that she
perfect.
could.
It was
Yeah.
good planning.
Okay. Good. So now we have a sort of base discussion base. So let's go into the questions with a little more time now. So maybe we start with Mary Ellen again. What do you think of competitions exclusively for women like La Maestra or the Heart Institute for Women Conductors? Good thing or bad thing?
I'm absolutely in favor of it. Someone asked me recently on a radio show that I was on, what do I feel about quotas, which is a related question, I think, and I'm definitely for quotas as well. I think we're so far from any sort of parity that we can use any help we can get or give ourselves. And for me, that's what La Maestra is about. It's actually about women, helping women, networking with women, and making them visible. So I think that's wonderful that Claire Gibault took this initiative to install this competition. And from what I can tell, I've watched it from afar. There's a very good feeling there. It's a competition, but it's also about togetherness and supporting each other. I mean, in the spirit that you work also, Talia, with your with posting every day a picture of a woman conductor, which is just so amazing. And
Thank
I
you.
look at them every day, and
You
I
know
feel
that you were
empowered.
posted. You know, I posted you like a year ago or something or more.
Yeah, yeah, and I was
Ah,
so
okay.
thankful.
Ah,
And
no.
I look at the pictures every day, and they give me strength.
Oh.
And I think that's what La Maestra is about, and also in Dallas. So I'm very much in favor of these initiatives at this point. At some other point in time, maybe they will not be necessary, but at the moment they're wonderful.
So it's about empowerment, in your opinion,
Yeah, and networking.
and
I think those
networking.
are true networking working things, and people that attend them are given help in their career progress, and that's exactly what needs to be done.
I totally agree. What about Talia? Do you see it the same way?
Yes, I completely agree with Mary Ellen. But okay, I don't want to repeat because what she said, I agree everything. But I think there is a place where people really actually don't give enough attention. When I'm collecting all those almost 2,000 pictures of female conductors from the present and from the past, and I see hundreds, maybe 5, 6, or 700 of female conductors who are over 45, and they are great conductors. I watch them, I watch everyone, their videos, and I see their technique and their abilities, but they don't have big careers, and they don't have the careers they deserve. And this is the point where the world is actually not helping those women who can do so much instead of all the unable male conductors who got their jobs just because they are men, but they who are much 10,000 times more talented than them, and they are still working with community orchestras or with youth orchestras instead of with professional orchestras. So all those competitions and institutions to help young conductors are great, but they're only helping a section, a specific section of the generation, the young generation. But there are hundreds of women conductors who are over 45, what I mentioned before, and they don't get any help from anybody. So this is the
What
problem.
can we do to change that? Is there something we can do?
Of course, what we can do is first of all to acknowledge the fact that women are being biased. That orchestras, they don't choose women conductors, and if they choose them, they choose only from the young generation, which is great, but it's not enough, because male conductors, they can be 95 and they are still being celebrated. But when a woman is 50, 55, they don't look at her at all as if she already finished her career. So those things should be discussed, and those things should be treated as well. So it's nice to have institutions and competitions, but the same people who are arranging those competitions, they are also the decision makers in other places. They can do a lot of things in order to change. Like Mary Ellen said, quota. Yes, we should see 50% female and male conductors in every orchestra, in every series of concerts. Not only to see female conductors in the family concerts. No, this is not enough. We don't need this. We need to be where we deserve to be. If there is a talented woman, she deserves to get what she deserves. And this is what I believe. So it's a lot about showing to the world the reality, who is doing what, and according to his talent or not. And I know it's very difficult. It's easy to say and it's difficult to do it, but it's a matter of showing the facts. And I don't know, maybe there is a system to do it. I don't know yet what is the answer, but I know about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
May I address that briefly? I think, I mean, it touches my heart, of course, what you're talking about. I think I'm personally sort of, I understand the situation very well, or I have it myself.
I saw you conducting here in Leipzig, and you're such a great conductor.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's true.
I don't know. There was about 20 years ago. There was a book produced here in Germany. It was called The Dirigentinnenrieder, a reader about women conductors, and there were short biographies of about 100 conductors who were working at that time. I was included as a young person. It was a mixture of ages, and I've always thought after 20 years or 25 years, it would be great to go back and do a study. What has happened with these people? Who was successful in terms of being in the big league now? Mm-hmm. Who left the profession? There are also a few women, I think, that just left, unfortunately, or started, really focusing on something else. And then all of us in between. But I think that might help us understand sort of the social aspect or the sociology behind that question. I'm not too hopeful that the major orchestras would hire older women conductors who have not yet worked with major orchestras. When I talk with managers of major orchestras. In fact, interestingly enough, there will be, at the end of November, there will be a one-day workshop in Berlin with orchestral managers talking about some of these matters, and who they're hiring and who they're playing. And I think when I talk with orchestral managers of major orchestras, they say, oh, well, the problem is that women don't have much experience working with this kind of orchestra, and we don't want to throw them into the deep water. I've heard this argument very often, but then
it's a big lie,
Men have been thrown into the deep water.
Yeah, we want to swim too.
How did they get their their experience? How did they learn? But
no, they are born with
this thinking of men
are
can
just
always
born
grow.
with experience.
I don't know. Perhaps. I mean, I think it's important to see it in quite a differentiated way. I think a lot of young male conductors also have it hard, but I do think there's a margin of really great women out there who have not been able to do enough with their careers. I believe that as well.
Yeah, because there's this thinking of men, they will grow, and women, first of all, they have to show what they have done already. So it's not this thinking of, they will grow, I trust them.
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of that. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, a little bit similar. There are still so many all-male composers, concert programs, and what can we do to change that, to motivate more musicians to play the works by female composers? What role do institutions, venues, audience, publishers, musicologists, professional amateur musicians play? Andrea said it's about the education, music education, and also we have to play and we have to communicate. What is your view on that? Maybe we start with Talia this time.
Okay. Well, I do whatever I can to post things in the internet, which I mean, through the social medias, that I feel they are very much powerful because I can reach as many people as I can. I can't do it any other way, and also internationally. So I really don't care if a piece I posted will be played in Brazil and not in Israel, as long as it's being played, that as long as someone chose to play this music. But eventually I realized that I did make a kind of effect also on my friends in Israel. And one of my friends, the pianist, the international pianist Michal Tal, even she made a whole new album of female music. And this is only one example. And so I know I help people to get inspired. The other thing that I'm doing is through my work at the radio, at the public radio of Israel, and I'm a music editor of three regular programs every week. And of course, I program in every program some of the female music, and I try to get every new album that I can and to add it to our repertoire. And also I make collaborations with my colleagues, my editors. I tell them about the new pieces, and then they bring me new pieces, and then we all try to program as much as possible. I know that in Israel there are some, not many, few people, but they are very loud, who are talking against me for doing this.
Against you?
Yes, completely. As if I have an agenda, and for them, agenda is a bad word. They forget that they have themselves the chauvinistic agenda of their own, but they don't see themselves. So yes, but sometimes those people, when they talk loud, so all the other people are answering them on my behalf, so I don't have to even interfere myself and bother myself for answering them. But yes, this is what happens. Even sometimes they send letters to the head of the radio and complain. But let them complain. As long as I do it, it means that it's doing things. It has an effect. So and of course, programming myself whenever I have a concert, or if I have any access to friends who are making programs and they ask me to help them and to find this. I do all the time, and I'm happy to do it because because of my research, I have a lot of knowledge about music, and I can suggest them what is good for them, what is suitable for their repertoire according to many features they tell me about their concert. Let's say orchestration wise and those things. So this is what I do. And of course, education is very, very important. And I also start dealing with this aspect in education.
Yeah, two very good points, because here MDR Classic is also playing a lot of music by female composers, and I'm happy every time they say this was an etude by Farang. I say, hey, wow, great, it's working. And the other good point is really that you help orchestras to find repertoire. And I think this will be also a very interesting point for Mary Ellen, because you do something similar, right?
Oh, in fact, we have quite an intersection, the two of us. Through the radio work, I would say I'm not working in program planning. However, working in the archive, I have been involved with acquiring every CD that ever came out in the past 30 years that involved a woman composer. So that at the place that I work, at the Bavarian radio station, there's a large collection. And they have now taken more and more into the rotation scheme there also. So you will hear much, much more also in the programming. It's just been a development of the last few years. And I know of women in particular, but not only women, working on this sort of thing at radio stations in Canada, in the States, in England. It's actually a very interesting point. There could be some networking in France. For example, a wonderful violinist that I have worked with as a soloist is now working at Radio France. Marina Chiche is her name, and she's doing wonderful programs on women composers, and just published a book in France about this topic. So there's a lot of movement there. Also at the Austrian radio station, there's a woman focusing on women composers. So I think, and just thinking about the fact that many people would hear those programs, you're reaching a lot of people all at one time, which is fantastic. So I do believe that institutions can be very and are very central to these topics. Radio stations, of course, the orchestras themselves, and I would say amateur orchestras, free orchestras, the new formations, which are maybe a little more experimental, and then the major orchestras. All of them should be and could be, and many of them are now working on this topic. We often have requests at the Archive of Women in Music to help with repertoire search. And there are also several new institutions throughout the world that are supporting people on this. If I think about the Boulanger initiative in Washington, D.C., or Présence Compositrice in South France, or Donne in Musica in London, we see several new organizations in the past 5 years or so working on these topics and helping with research for repertoire. The Archive of Women in Music has been doing this for over 40 years. We're proud of that. And just yesterday, day before yesterday, a major orchestra in Frankfurt wrote us a message. People from the orchestra itself, members of the orchestra, they wrote and said, "We've realized that our next program, the program for 2022-23 has not a single woman composer, female composer, and not a single female conductor." And they said, of course, that's really a 0-0 program nowadays. I mean, that's unusual now, but 0-0. And so they're concerned, and they wrote to us and said, "We would like to work with you to work on a repertoire list that we can recommend to our conductors." And of course, we wrote back immediately and said, "Yes, we'd be very happy to help you. I'm sure I'll be involved in advising, perhaps Eva as well."
All
I mean,
doors open.
We work together on these things, and it's wonderful to work together and put our heads together on it. The two of us will be in Frankfurt actually at the beginning of September, working with a group for amateur orchestras programming, who want to program women composers. And this organization for amateur orchestras in Germany, there are all over 900 orchestras who are members. And so we're really hoping to really move along our case in that particular connection. I think the main thing is to show as many people in the musical world and even outside of it the richness of what we're talking about by examples, letting them just hear.
Exactly. Yes.
And therefore get as much played as possible. And of course, starting in a young age, in the schools, in the conservatories. The Archive of Women in Music has done a project with schools, works with the conservatory in Frankfurt very closely. So we really try to approach the topic in many facets.
I think that's a very important point. The amateur music is very important. I think with amateur orchestras, they seem very open. That's my experience. So they often like to play music by female composers because they just want to try it out. And I remember that Talia told me in the last interview that the audience is also very important concerning conductors, because they call the venues. Do they also call the venues when there are no female composers, or aren't they aware of that?
Well, about this, I hope so. I was just told about conductors because I'm responsible for the one conductor a day. So people wrote to me, Talia, I wrote to my local orchestra and asked them, how come there is not even one female conductor? They realized that actually there are so many. So how come their orchestra never invited even one? So this is exactly my point in One Conductor a Day. I cannot fight organizations and decision makers. They are too strong, they are too big, they are too high there. They have too much money and power, and it's a big industry. And I don't like this industry, but because it doesn't have to be industry. It's art, and it's people, it's communication. But they made themselves industry because those who are running it most of them, they are not musicians at all. They just care about money and big names, and many times behind the big names there is nothing, and we all know that. And so what I do want is to make an impact on the public. And actually, amateur orchestras are the public because for them, the music is their love. But after they finish to play their concert or the rehearsal, they go back to their regular life in the community, and they are the ones who buy tickets to the opera, to the orchestra, and they are becoming the decision makers of those people who decide if they want to go to this thing or not. And when they will realize that in their orchestra, there is no, they don't find any woman, not in the conducting part and not in the repertoire part, they will feel that something will hurt them because half of this orchestra is women themselves. Once you know it's missing, you cannot deny it. You see, and it hurts you because you feel that someone put you somewhere else, as if you're transparent. You become transparent. We don't want to be transparent. I as a person, I don't want to be transparent as I still am. I want to change this. I want women to be equal part in the world, as we deserve. Everyone deserves what they achieved until now. And that's why I think it's very important to influence the audience also.
And I think what's very important too are documentaries. We talked about radio programs, but also documentaries are very important, I think. And you mentioned Antonia Bricco. There was this movie, and I know so many people that wrote me, "Oh, I saw that movie and it was so great." And now we wonder why aren't there more female conductors? So I think movies and documentaries are also very important. What do you think about that? Mary-Ellen, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think our world is moving very much into the video side of things and visualizing things, and that has that touches you in a special way, of course. So any sort of visibility, even on film, of course, is great and important. I mean, even just watching YouTube videos of women conducting is great. It will show you it's possible, and of course, those are things that are more easily shared now than in the past. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Talia, what's your opinion?
Of course, of course I agree. And I see that more and more things like that are being done. I think it's easier for the public to watch a film rather than expect them to read a book. So that's why film can be very good thing. And also there are some very short, even 5 or 10 minutes videos or films about female composers or conductors, and it's much more accessible. So I feel every small thing that we do for this can just be great. Will lead us to a better place in the world.
Yes, exactly. Even 3-minute snippets. The life
Everything.
of I don't know who. Yeah,
Everything.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're coming to the end, step by step. So what about you? Andrea heard an opera by a female composer. I haven't. What about you? Have you ever heard an opera? Talia? No?
Live, not. Of course I have. I
mean live. I mean live in the performance.
Yeah. So no, in a live performance, never. Unfortunately, yeah.
And Mary-Ellen?
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's really hard to think about because all of us are so involved in this topic, and we would be the people who would have seen one if it had been possible.
If possible.
I can say yes, but I had to make a special effort. I had to travel quite a distance to see an opera by a woman composer, although I could have done so earlier, closer by actually. I saw a live performance of L'amour de loin by Sarajevo, conducted by Susanne Melki at the Met in New York City in 2016. And this opera was, of course, it was written for Salzburg in 2000. So I could have gone there, I guess. But in any case, I was able to attend it at the Met. I attended it with my mother there, who has been instrumental also in furthering these causes and my thinking also on these things. She's the one who took me to the film with Antonio Brico when I was a teenager. So an important person for helping me along, of course. And it was amazing just to think about it. It was the second opera by a woman that had ever been performed at the Met. Things are moving along there too. I think they have some commissions now and whatnot, but slowly but surely. Very, very touching for me. Now, I will be in September, end of September in Berlin, hearing an opera by a woman composer because The Wreckers is being performed there, but it's a concert version. It's not a stage version. And
with which orchestra?
With the Deutsche Symphonieorchester, DSO. And it's being performed at the Glyndebourne. It's now in the summer, and then it will be moving to Berlin. But I think maybe we need to, when we talk about this topic, we should think more widely maybe and talk about musical theater a little more widely, because there you'll find a lot of younger women also experimenting and doing great new ideas. Maybe it's smaller houses, but that's their way to get into this field, and they need to be supported. I'm thinking like next week there'll be a performance of a new work by the Mexican composer Diana Circe in Berlin. It's musical theater. It will be small opera setting, but it's a piece about her home country of Mexico and the culture there, and cultures in general and identities. And I'm hoping to attend that. So that would be my second. But it's not a big opera setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm looking, is Heike still here? Yes, Heike is still here, because Heike wrote that she heard two, both in Frankfurt. So of course we would like to know, Heike, can you write us which ones did you hear? Because of course we're eager to know. I mean, 2 operas, that's quite a lot. And Frankfurt is a big house. So until she has written, we can just move on. So which works by female composers did you recently conduct, or will you conduct in the near future? Maybe we start with Mary Ellen this time.
Yeah, fine. I conduct or I rehearse works by women composers every week with my ensembles, I would say. And the most recent performances were, that program in Leipzig with the choir, which was a complete choral program by women composers. Anna Woll from the south of Germany, Clara Schumann, of course, because we were in Leipzig, and several further women composers. I will be conducting a work by a woman composer tomorrow, choral also, the Canadian composer Eleanor Daly, and on Sunday I'll also be doing choral work by a woman composer. If we talk about orchestra, the next work that I will be conducting by a woman composer will be by the Ukrainian composer Hanna Havrelets. She unfortunately in the very first days of the war died in Kiev. It may have been because she did not have good health care. She was around my age, a wonderful composer, and we are doing a piece of hers called Chorale for strings, and it's very wonderful. I'm looking forward to performing it and thinking of her. I think we will perform it in memoriam for her. Then in September, end of September, my women's orchestra project will be meeting in Berlin, and we're going to be looking at works by Emilia Meyer, Claude Arieux, Cecilia McDowell, and Francisca Gonzaga.
Oh, wow!
The piece by Gonzaga was arranged for orchestra by Andrea. So we're working together on it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I can hardly wait.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so
Great.
meanwhile, in the chat, Audrey the Conductor has written, she heard one, Lost Childhood by Janice Hammer in the US. And Heike has even heard 3 operas. So Adriana Holsky and the
super.
Dante Opera and Olga Neuwirth Lost Highway.
Wonderful.
Die Wende by Holsky, she wrote 15 years ago. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
So many people in the chat heard operas by women composers. That's great. So, let's continue to Talia. So what works did you recently conduct or will you conduct in the near future?
Okay, so if I look backwards, so I did Fanny Mendelssohn and Clara Schumann, and for sure other things that I don't remember right now. And in the coming future, Emilia Meyer, Faust Overture.
Oh yeah.
With my students, my conducting students, I'm teaching them how to prepare this piece, and they will actually conduct their students' orchestra in the coming months. So this is something I'm very much looking forward. Plus, I'm trying to arrange a program for myself as a clarinetist. And I'm just working on finding the right material.
Is there a lot for clarinet? I saw there's one YouTube playlist. I remember that for clarinet.
Oh, I didn't look at the playlist, but only from the knowledge of the. I picked up all the composers I like the most, and I looked for their material. And not necessarily I will take things which are written originally for clarinet. Sometimes I will make arrangements myself, and sometimes it is written for clarinet.
Oh, great!
Yes.
Wow, that's a cool program. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the final question. Some work recommendations. 3 work recommendations for amateur orchestra and for professional orchestra. Maybe we start with Talia this time.
Okay, so for amateur orchestra, I know from my husband who just conducted one of his amateur orchestras, Augusta Olmes' La Nuit et l'Amour, which is not that difficult, but it's one of the most beautiful pieces of 5 minutes, like most romantic, most beautiful in the world. I don't know if there is a more beautiful music than this. Clara Schumann Piano Concerto that I did with my former amateur orchestra was not difficult for them at all. And Ethel Smythe's The Overture to the Bostonians' Mate, which includes the Women's March. Yes. And for professional orchestras, everything is open. You know, we have 7 symphonies by Emilia Meyer because the 8th one was lost. So number 7 is amazing. But also, I just aired numbers 3 and 6 from a new album, which are amazing. Numbers 3 is the Militaire Symphony, great music. So a lot of that. Augusta Olmes, Roland Fourier. I don't know if there is something better than this. It's so energetic and full orchestra. Like I love symphonic orchestras with trombones and a lot of percussion. So I love this music. And Dora Pejacevic Symphony in F sharp minor, amazing. And I don't know, Louis Farrang's 3 symphonies and Mary Ellen's what I forgot
Mary
her.
Alice Smith?
Yes, Mary Alice Smith. 2 symphonies. I cannot stop listening to it. Yeah, so all those things and many more.
Great. So some were also on my list. So Alice Mary Smith for amateurs was also on my list, and Augusta Olmes, but I had Andromeda.
Okay. For amateur? Okay.
No, for professional.
Okay.
So, but let's hear what Mary Ellen is suggesting.
I want to hear the rest of your list, Eva.
You want to? Okay. So for amateur orchestras, as I told you, Ellie Mary Smith, Symphony.
Right.
Melbourne's Gitanos because I think it's funny. Vals Español, fun.
Yeah.
And Chaminade, it's difficult to pronounce. Caliroué, sweet.
Natalie, always sweet. Yes.
Yeah, because it's not so difficult and really nice and charming, many movements. And well, for professional orchestras, of course, Augusta Olmez and all her tone poems, but especially Andromeda, and Grażyna Bacewicz with her symphonies, which are great.
Absolutely, that's on my list too. Oh,
Yeah. And now I hope it's not similar again. Florence Price, the symphonies.
Yeah, sure.
So I hope I didn't take it away. What about Mary Ellen?
No, but I'm really happy to hear you say Bacewicz, because she's really an absolute favorite of mine. Many of the works you've mentioned, we've at least tried out, read through with the Women's Orchestra Project in Berlin, and so I'm feeling great feeling of joy just hearing you list these works, because they're all such discoveries, and I love your enthusiasm about them also. Grażyna Bacewicz for professional orchestras. It's
Yes.
quite, her works are not easy, but absolutely wonderful. Not all of them have even been recorded yet. The symphonies, it's amazing. They should be all out there in the world. A discovery we made recently, it has not even been published yet, for professionals, would be Imogen Holst's Persephone Overture. It's just lying in an archive somewhere. And we tried playing it from the original handwritten notes, which was difficult, but we're just reading. But I had the feeling it would be a great discovery.
I love her.
Yeah. And this piece needs really to be dug out and performed. Then we tried out last year a piece by the composer Chen Yi, which was called Tone Poem, and it was lovely. Almost all of the people, or many of the people who attended the Women's Orchestra Project, said it was their favorite. But it was ambitious for us as amateurs. I think it would be great if professional orchestras played it more. Also, the ballet music to Eldur by Joran Vidar from Iceland would be a good suggestion. Really interesting music. And for amateurs, I've made a couple of notes. I recently have played for string orchestra a piece called Poem by Ester Mägi from Estonia. It has solo violin and nice, beautiful string parts, and well playable for amateurs. We performed that successfully here in Munich with the Rainbow Sound Orchestra recently. Then for amateur orchestras, I'd like to make the suggestion, find a composer, adopt a female composer and work with them. And I've done this a lot, but I did this very successfully with a composer and instrumentalist here in Munich named Michaela Dietl. She wrote a piece called Bavarian Rhapsody. And it was for accordion and orchestra, and we had so much fun with it. And all of us learned so much from it. And so I suggest that, not a special piece, but working with a female composer, just to have the experience to exchange. And then a piece that every group I've done it with really appreciated and loved, Ina Boyle, the Irish composer, a piece called Wild Geese. And it's about seeing wild geese fly over a lake in nature, and you sort of hear the wings flapping a little bit if you want to in the music.
Wow.
And it's gorgeous and very accessible for amateurs.
For which kind of orchestra? What? No, I understand, but symphonic or chamber or strings?
It's chamber. I would say chamber setting.
Chamber.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, great. That's a wonderful input. Heike has also written something. You are starting a new canon.
Yes.
Yeah, we would love to, I think. And she adores Maggie. And this composer has written also for guitar.
Yeah, that's Heike Mattison from
Yes.
Frankfurt, who herself is, of course, professional guitarist and very engaged in all of these topics. It's wonderful that she's involved here.
And she's also a board member, isn't she, of Archiv Freie Musik?
Yeah, there are three of us, and Heike and myself and Vera Lasch are on the board there.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So, my dears, it was wonderful to talk to you. So 1 hour is over. It's even more, 80
Oh,
minutes. No,
oh.
70 minutes, sorry, 70
Yeah.
minutes. But wow, it was wonderful to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time and for the wonderful input and the great discussion. And I enjoyed it a lot. Would be great to do it again.
Yeah, we have
Let's
Yeah?
to.
continue.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
fantastic.
I would also say I really appreciate your work in this field, and I know you're really engaged, and I really enjoyed this exchange, and you did a wonderful job in moderating, talking with us, and preparing. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. It was the first time for me to do a moderation.
Wow.
And also the first
You're a
multiple
natural
screen.
talent. You're a natural talent.
Exactly.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks.
Eva. You're so great, and keep the job. And thank you also to you, Miriam. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to meet you, even though not physically, but even in this way. For me, it's a great honor.
It's been a great pleasure for me too. Thank you so much.
I think it's very important to be connected, especially as conductors, but of course as female conductors, to really feel the support and to have the feeling that you are not alone. It's really, yeah, that's
Well, we
one
do
of my
have
biggest
a
aims, to connect,
yeah.
to be strong together.
We do have a working group that gets together online a little bit in Germany of women conductors who conduct works by women. So
Oh,
maybe we can invite you to our next session. I
Yeah?
would love to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so
wonderful.
I wish you a wonderful evening. Thanks so much again,
Thank
and
you.
see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye bye.